Segundo, for example, today has a lower carbon footprint than we did in 1990. Yet we produce substantially more fuel than we did in 1990. And that's all because of the efficiencies that we've applied to our business. That isn't to say that we still don't have a large footprint. We do, and we have to reduce it. Certainly AB 32 will drive us to a substantially lower footprint over time, and we'll be looking for innovation in that regard. But we are, as an industry, we see the world somewhat holistically. We think that it's not appropriate to discount any energy opportunity or resource. We see a sustainable future. We see that growing. We see our more traditional fuels intersect with new and innovative technologies, and we see that growing over an extended period of time, and we're going to find ways to support that. I'll just briefly also mention that we have, and again, something you won't know about our company, we have something called Chevron Energy Solutions. Chevron Energy Solutions is the largest installer of solar technologies in the educational community in California today. We put in about 25 megawatts in this last year into the educational sector within California. We have a number of major projects ongoing in LACCD system right now. We just finished a project with MTA to put 1.5 megawatts on top of their maintenance facility down here, downtown LA. And we're just finishing a project with the city of Rialto that takes their waste stream, their kitchen waste stream, you know, the oil and grease from the restaurants, and turn it into a biofuel, which will then be used to fuel a fuel cell, about a 900 kilowatt fuel cell that then the city will use to run part of their internal needs as far as their maintenance yards and other aspects of their operations. So for us, we need to maintain, from our perspective, our focus on energy efficiency and conservation. We think that's a core value. We will continue to deliver good value, good, low emitting products in the liquid fuel side of the business, and we're also looking ahead at what the future looks like in terms of growing the sustainable side.
Thank you, Rod. There's a little bit of a play here by virtue of what Edward's done on the panel of replaying California Prop 87's arguments of 3 years ago. I'm going to get to that in the question and answers. And because I'm making up these resumes, in addition to what you have in front of you, I want to turn to Anthony Rubenstein, who in his background was a wildcatter up in Alaska doing oil and gas work. Is that right?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Close.
He was the founder, and he's the former chairman and founder of Californians for Green Energy. And he might have a different take on Rod's notion of what the mix should be and how we get there. But before we get to that give and take, why don't you sort of lay out a few thoughts to start this conversation?
Sure. Yeah, I was basically the author and founder of Proposition 87. Prop 87 was the initiative that was on the ballot now going to be 3 years ago that would have instituted an oil severance tax here in the state of California and used the funds from that to make California permanently the world leader in clean energy research, development, and market acquisition. We lost, mostly thanks to a $150 million campaign against us, waged by the oil companies, including my friend's company, Chevron. Right now in California, actually, there's as you mentioned, there's sort of the echoes of Prop 87 are still sort of reverberating, not only in California, but across the whole country. Most of what people look at as the Obama energy plan is really came from Prop 87. It wasn't that we were such geniuses, it was that these are sort of the reasonable and well-developed policies that had been kicking around for the last 10 years or so. We gave it a shot in California. It didn't work out. And interestingly, the same arguments are being used against Proposition, that were used against Proposition 87 are the same ones that we're seeing on the national level as well. Primarily being, oh, well, it'll ruin our economy if we make this transition to clean and other green sources of energy. The whole premise of the clean energy movement is actually the opposite of that. It's actually what I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
Rod.
What Rob was talking about, which is it's primarily about how do we apply best practices? How do we grow our economy without the use of the dirtiest fuel sources, whether that be coal or petroleum or any other fossil fuel. Right now in California, again, the severance tax has been kicking around quite a bit again, basically for two reasons. Number one is that there's an oil company called PXP, which is out of Texas, that is trying to open up offshore drilling here again in California, and has made a deal, or tried to make a deal, with the people of Santa Barbara, which is ironic because that's where the big oil spill happened in the 1960s that basically closed off, or caused people to protest and close off oil drilling, not only off California, but all around the country. And also because of the California budget crisis, there is this hue and cry to see the oil companies pay the severance tax. The oil companies have always maintained that it would raise the price of gasoline, that it would raise the price of doing business in California, that it would run jobs out of the state of California. Basically, all of those arguments have been proven to be false, even from their own internal documents, which have come out since Prop 87 and throughout this discussion that's going on in Sacramento now. What I tell people, the best thing that you can do in terms of, what are the changes that I can make in my own daily life to try and make a dent in it, in my own use of fossil fuels. I really like the fact that I get in my car every morning and I turn the key and it turns on. Okay, so I'm not, while I am one who has taken on the fossil fuel companies very, very directly, and they've taken me on extremely directly, I'm also one that is reasonable to say that we need to get to a new place, but we are where we are. And so what can the average person do? You know what? If you could take one day a week and make a big change in that day. So if you could take the bus, or you could work from home, or you could honestly just maybe not fill up the car that day. That a 20% change in California equals a 5% change in the whole country. So if we here in California can make, if we can move the needle here, we can really move the needle for the whole country. But it really does come down to what are you able to do in your own life that, again, doesn't impact your productivity, doesn't impact sort of the broader economy. So I hope I gave you.
So, we were going to go a little longer here on the presentations, but it'd be too much fun to just not start the conversation now. So, Rod, if we're talking about adaptation, that's really what's on the table, adaptation. And we were using renewable energy for the last 50 years, and all of a sudden we thought it was too expensive, and we wanted to introduce more use of fossil fuels. How would we begin that discussion to change the whole infrastructure of our policies, incentives, or whatever, to introduce fossil fuels in 2009? What would you have to do to introduce a whole new mix of energy when you have 50 years of energy policy embedded into your rules, regulations, or whatever? I'm just turning the table around, saying, how would you do it?